Happy Monday, Side Quest podcast listeners. This is the first live, well, not live, but first podcast you can watch on YouTube. Some more of that may be coming in the future. We'll see. But today is a great guest. Back in 2012, I saw this internet documentary called I Want to Look Like That Guy. I think many of us guys out there, and even ladies as well, have seen supplement ads with people who are ripped and shredded, or seen people in fitness magazines, and we thought, I want to look like that person. For many of us, that was our first trip into the gym because that was our goal. We wanted to look like them. My guest today is Stuart MacDonald, the writer, director, and star of the documentary, I Want to Look Like That Guy. He has come on the show. He's doing a sequel now. He's put on a little more weight since he got shredded on stage, and now he's doing a follow-up to see if he can get back to it. But Stuart was a fantastic guest, so you guys can watch that here in just a few minutes. But it really is a great episode. He has a lot of great wisdom about executing a plan, where the battle really lies, and what it was like to get down to those levels and the struggle that he went through. So this is sort of a first for Side Quest. So please hit subscribe here in YouTube. You can watch all my videos as they come out throughout the week. I'm going to start doing more YouTube videos as well. Check out the link in the description where you can get links to the show notes, where you can listen to the show on iTunes and subscribe there, or listen on Stitcher, as well as getting links back to the website. And if you have not downloaded your Quest Pack, the Quest of the Traveling Bard, check that link down in the description as well, so you, the next time you go on the road, can attempt my quest and see if you can succeed on staying on your diet and nutrition and keeping your workouts going while you're on the road. I think it's a fun quest. Already had one person complete it, so let me know again there if you do complete that. So enjoy the episode, guys. A lot of great tips and tidbits here, and I look forward to seeing you guys next time. All right, guys, as I mentioned in the intro, I have a fantastic guest for you today on the show. I first found out about Stuart while perusing YouTube. It may have been somewhere on Reddit as well. Someone had posted a comment. And I watched his documentary called, and excuse me if I messed the title up, I Want to Look Like That Guy?
I Want to Look Like That Guy, yep.
Okay, I got it right. And I thought it was a fantastic documentary, and his premise for it, because I was like, oh my God, I've had the same thought. And I know plenty of guys have had that thought that they want to look like the guy in muscle and fitness, or the guy that they see on supplement ads. And Stuart went through the process of losing a ton of body fat and getting shredded to get on stage. And I wanted to get him on the show because I thought his documentary was fantastic, and it was a great point of view to present, sort of the hard work that goes into it. So, Stuart, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Welcome. I'm glad. Welcome to my home, I guess. It's my first Skype like this, so this is cool.
Cool. Well, I always ask my guests, a little of their background, and you sort of go into it, in the documentary. And guys, you can get all of this in the show notes. So know to follow the links over to sidequestfitness.com/podcast, and I'll have the link there for the documentary on YouTube, which multiple people now have it on their channels, which I always find interesting. I'm like, so you downloaded someone's hard work and put it up on your channel? How does that happen?
I don't know. We lost track. We don't even care anymore.
So how did you get to the point? So tell us the story about where you got to the point before you decided, I want to look like that guy and I want to make this film.
Well, let's see here. I started, I had a video production company, and I still do. It's just not as big as it used to be, but it's called Boomerang Studios. And Jeff Willett is a 2003 Team Universe bodybuilding champion. He won it all, and he did it all drug-free. And he is, ironically, he lives in my hometown of Adrian, Michigan. And what's interesting is that he started up a gym, and my father taught him at Adrian College, and so he's got this powerhouse gym. And I said, you know, I'd love to come out and do some workout footage for you, anything. And so we just started making these small fitness videos. Yeah. And then I had this idea of, you know, this guy could probably whip me up into shape, and wouldn't it be cool to put that in a documentary format? And then, so we started off with just a short documentary of phase one, because it actually started out with the whole documentary was just going to be phase one. Yeah, I just want to work out, and I want to see how, you know, how much body fat you can lose just by working out, and sort of keeping track of what you're eating. And the results were good, but they weren't great. And that's when I said, okay, we've got to make this a great documentary. I've got to enter a contest so I look like those guys in those fitness ads. And he said, are you sure? I said, hey, we need drama, because what we made, the first phase, was just not dramatic enough. And sure enough, we hit pay dirt. We touched a lot of nerves, especially my own, while we were filming it. But that's how we got the idea.
Okay. So were you an active kid growing up? Did you play sports, or was this sort of, you know, new to you? Did you go from couch to gym?
No, both my parents were phys ed teachers. One was middle school gym teacher. The other one was a college professor. He taught kinesiology and all kinds of sports medicine at the college. So, yeah, I was primarily a wrestler and a cross-country runner. And then I went into college, and I ran cross-country at college for probably a year, and then I caught, it happens to some people, but I had exercise asthma. So I had to drop out. And so I'm like, all right, now what do you do? And so I just sort of kept track of my weight here and there, went through college, and then I went on tour as a magician for 15 years. And the show actually kept me physically fit, because it was a very demanding show. And then I was able to maintain my weight because I'm a very active person, but then when you reach a certain age, and it was about 40, your weight just everything that you were eating before, oh, the pizza, the Doritos, and bigger and bigger. And I just got to the point where I said, enough is enough. And this idea happened at the same, you know, I just, some ideas and people meet together at a certain point in their life that it just explodes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got to ask about being a magician, because you mentioned that in the documentary, and it's only very brief. So you toured 15 years being, now was it sort of like did you do like magician stand-up, or was it like you were in the circus? Like what were you doing as a magician?
I was in the circus. That's okay. It's all good. No, I toured in, I'll kind of give you the quick snapshot. In the early to mid 80s, I was the premier competitive magician. A lot of people don't know that magicians are, they have...
I did not know that. There's like actual like magician battles?
Yeah, if you go to FISM on YouTube, you will see the World Championships of Magic. It's held every 3 years. And they just held it over the summer in Italy. And it's some of the wildest, craziest, most bizarre, fantastic magic, better than any magician you'll ever see. They're competing. And some of these guys, they build these acts specifically just for this contest. So anyway, I won all the contests in America, so I qualified for the World Championships in '85. So I went to Madrid and competed, did really well. I didn't win, but I did well, and came back to America, and I started my career working in the college market. So I toured to about 1,000 colleges in 10 years. And then, yeah, it was brutal. I started to get to know Mabel at the toll booth in Jersey. This is like that bad. So it got to that point where I was like, I can't see myself doing this for the next, until I'm, 80. So I made a goal to get off the road. It took another 5 years to kind of get myself off the road. But during that period of time, I was on television with the Statler brothers, and
Oh wow.
yeah, I did all kinds of cool stuff. So then after I decided to get off the road, another interesting thing happened. I developed a haunted house called The Haunting, and that started in 1995, and it was one of the largest haunted houses in the country in the small town of Little Adrian. And it did very, very well for, I think it was 17 years before we closed it in 2011 or 2012. So, so that is the magic in
the magic in the. So that's interesting. That if you were on the Statler Brothers in the late '80s, early '90s, there's a chance I may have seen you when I was staying over at my grandfather was a huge Statler Brothers fan. So every Saturday when I would stay over, he's like, "We're going to watch the Statler Brothers," and I'm like, "But I'm 6. I don't want to watch this."
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting. I had no idea that there were magicians that did competitions. I know Penn and Teller had done a show in Britain, sort of the world's next top magician or whatever. But I had no idea that there was a competitive sort of sport to it.
Oh yeah, and it's ridiculous. And I hadn't competed since '85, but because of all the different jobs that do you want me to get you caught up to where I am now?
Sure. I was getting ready to ask what are you still doing? You just mentioned you closed the haunted house because it's Halloween time.
So I'll get you caught up. In 2008, we all know what happened. The economy blew up.
Yep.
So all my streams of income vanished. And then, so I focused all my attention on helping Jeff out because I knew my haunted house was going to fold and my magic was starting to go south. So the documentary was a big hit, but it wasn't enough. We needed more material to go out there. So, but the economy was just too slow. So I had to go back to school. And so I went to back to college, but an interesting story about that is I negotiated with the college to have me go back to school for free if I will do video content for them and post it online, and they said yes. So I went to college for free. So I graduated in 2011, and then I got a job at a TV station in Raleigh, North Carolina, working for the CW. And I did that for about 9 months. The television industry is brutal, so I'm like, okay, I'll go someplace else. So then I got a job up in at Charter Media in Saginaw, and I got burned out there because I think I did 400 TV commercials in about 10 months. It was ridiculous. So I was like, okay, I've had enough of this. So when I went into sales, now all the while I'm just gaining weight because of all the stress. I've already moved 2 times at this point. 3 times, excuse me. I've moved 3 times, and I'm living alone, separated from my wife because we just could. I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. She was in Adrian, and so we have 2 separate households. So that's stressful, and then. I got tired of selling sales for NBC because all I'm doing is selling airtime, and that was terrible. I didn't want to go into that. It was just so not me.
Yeah, understandable. I think everyone has one of those jobs where they're doing something where it's just not them, and the stress of having to pay bills, and you're like, ugh, I have to stay here, but I hate it, and
yeah,
it happens.
And then, and the thing is that I'd been working for myself for 30 years with all my own jobs. I've never worked for anybody else, and now I have to work for somebody else. I'm working for the man now.
Yeah.
And so that was an adjustment period. So then I left that job, moved back home, and then was unemployed for 6 months. And then I moved to St. Joseph, Michigan, and here I am working for Whirlpool. I have a senior level position. It's a great company. I never want to leave here. It's like living in a postcard. I'm right on the coast of Michigan. So I get to look at Lake Michigan every day. It's amazing.
Nice, nice. So are you still now? I know when we were talking in via email, you mentioned that you're working on a new project. Are you still doing things with your studio for Boomerang? Are we getting a sequel? Are you going back on stage?
Yes. Well, here's the thing. I got to the point where our fan base has never shrunk. It's only grown.
Yeah.
And we've kept in tabs on everybody, and 7 years have passed, and during this period of time, I mean, you do everything wrong when you're in a stressful situation. I moved 4 times. I had to claim bankruptcy. Good grief. And then having 4 different jobs, and then and totally 180ing your lifestyle from working for somebody else, from working alone, as an entrepreneur, to working for somebody else is a big switch. Yeah. So I gained, I think right now, because I just started on Monday, so this is fresh. I'm probably 210 and well over 30% body fat. And, I'm close to hypertension. Luckily, diabetes is not an issue. But, some alarm bells are going off because I'm 50 years old now. And it's harder to get up in the morning because your ankles are sore, because you're carrying more weight than you should. And I said, Jeff, we got to do something. And I said, let's do a sequel. I think this is about the best time in the world to do a sequel because of just the way I look and feel. And I'm 7 years older. And the other thing too that's interesting about doing the documentary now is compared to doing it back in 2009 is that our world has completely changed. Because I consider myself the average guy.
Yeah.
And in the world that we live in now, we don't have time. That's almost gone. Our commutes are longer. Our job stresses are worse because we're doing the job of 3 and 4 people in some cases. And, there's type 2 diabetes rampant everywhere. It's the #1 disease in the country right now. Yeah. And if you look at microbreweries are blowing up everywhere because everybody's drinking. And a lot of this weight that I have is from drinking beer literally almost every day. I mean, I'm not an alcoholic, but it just feels like every single day it's like, oh, I can't stand living alone. I'll have a beer and entertain myself and call my friends at 3 o'clock in the morning. So it's not how everybody's living, but everybody, I believe, is kind of suffering the same pain that I am. I'm definitely not a 20-year-old would be feeling a lot of this, but because their bodies are moving faster and. Yeah. But when you're 50 years old and you're thrown into this new world where there's social media everywhere and all the pressures that I talked about, it's no wonder there is type 2 diabetes. There is no wonder that people are drinking more. It's because the stress is awful, and where I work, you can just see the stress, and there's just no time. So this new documentary is making it in today's world, where there is no time, there's fewer money, there's a lot less money for doing fun things because you're just at home all the time. So that's how we're going to attack it and see if if I can make myself have a better, healthier lifestyle. And then at the end of 6 months, when the documentary is kind of reached its pinnacle, we're going to make another documentary, a sequel for it, where it's how to sustain it, so that I don't go and yo-yo back up again, which is what we all do. So we want to see how long can I sustain this look.
Is that something you didn't have when you finished? Because if for people who haven't seen the documentary, you got to almost under 6% body fat, 5% body fat. You were on stage, you know, doing a bodybuilding show. You got runner up. You got into the Masters. You know, and I mean, you were shredded.
I was shredded.
You know, and you mentioned, you know, you gained, you know, some weight back, you know, once you sort of got back to eating more than 1,400 calories a day.
Right.
But did Jeff and you sort of not talk about sustaining that after, or was it the stresses of life just sort of, you know, take over? Because I know a lot of people have those successes. I have clients who've come to me and they're like, all right, I don't know what happened 3 months later, and I've gained it back. How do I keep that from coming back?
Right. I was able to sustain my a decent look for about a year, and then I gained 10 pounds in 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, I was so depleted. You know, when you're shredded on stage, you have I would say about as minimal water inside your body as you can possibly have before you die. That that might be an exaggeration, but that's how you feel when you're on stage with that kind of a look. So as soon as you get off stage, first thing you do is you just drink lots of water, and you fill your body up with food.
Yeah.
And literally it was 10 pounds in just a couple of days, and my abs were completely smoothed over. You could still see little lumps, but I mean, it was pretty smoothed over. And you know, I'd say the biggest issue that people who do one-offs of bodybuilding competitions, the reason why that is because the lifestyle is so extreme, and that's kind of why the documentary was also made, was to show, in order to look like this, you have to live like this, which is extreme. And that's where the argument started with people online. Is that no, you can look like that every single day. Really? You can look shredded every single day? Yeah, you can. And I know people that look like that, and they're angry all the time. They feel like crap, and nobody is their friend. And I mean, because it's a very isolated lifestyle, you have to pull yourself out of every social event. You can't have a beer with your friends. You can't eat cake. And I mean, because I think most people that have these, that are able to go to that extreme, can also go to the extreme the other side as well.
Yeah. And
there's a lot of trigger foods will also cause those things to happen. But we talked about sustaining it, but it was such an uncomfortable vent.
Yeah.
It wasn't horrible, but it was uncomfortable, and it made life at home really, really bad. I mean, it was definitely a singular event. No, I had support from my friends other than just get this over with, because they had a saying. I was called Edgy Stew. Because I was always a little edgy because I didn't have food and carbs, and I just wasn't fun, because I'm generally a very happy and fun guy to be around. And so it took, I'd say, about 3 years. I was like, darn it, I lost it. And I don't want to lose all of it like I did last time. And that's what this documentary is going to do, is to show how far we can go given this time period, working the way I work, and feel out where those pain points are and what we can do to mitigate those. And I'd like to get down to below 10% and see just what that's like working full time, 8 hours a day, and living a normal life. And then how much of that am I going to be okay to gain back and sustain something no more than 15, but between 10 and 15 would be the range I'd like to be in. And there's a good possibility I'll do a contest in this. I'm not saying yes, because it's extremely difficult, but because the thing is not everybody wants to do a bodybuilding contest. No. Because it's so extreme, and it's very hard on your body too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand just. I mean, I did not get the 1,400 calories. I got to about 1,900 this spring, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't go any lower. I'm sorry. You know, and that was rough. You know, and you're right. You do get a little moody, and I know people who've done it, and you know, the lower you get, you get hangry, as one of my friends and former guests. Hangry. It's a combination of hungry and angry.
Oh, okay. I'll remember that.
Yeah. He termed that one, and I was like, I think I know that feeling when you're really hungry, but your mood starts to go the other way. No, and I like that that's where you're taking it, because I think that's one of the hardest things for a lot of people. You know, a lot of people want to lose weight, and I think you're very right that, you know, we do have, you know, you see it on the news all the time talking about, you know, the obesity epidemic, and, you know, type 2 diabetes is huge, and heart disease, and all of these things, and a lot of things, you know, being active and eating better can help us prevent that. But people can do it for 6 months, and then life happens, and we forget how to. So I'm really glad to see that that's sort of the third part of the trilogy, if you will. You know, Return of the Jack Stewart is what we'll call it. You know, and how to maintain that, because it is very difficult, you know, to sort of, you know, get those great achievements, but how do you maintain it and have a normal life? You know, I admit there are many times I turn down a beer. I've basically now switched to bourbon, higher alcohol, less calories, and the same price as some of these microbrews. Like, come on, microbrews, $9 for a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I have a few questions about the documentary, and I know it was a few years ago, but I think some of this may even surface again when you start doing it. When you did it, what was the hardest sacrifice you had to make?
The hardest sacrifice, boy, there's so many. Not eating. I mean, yeah, not eating what you want. That was really, seriously, the hardest sacrifice. The second hardest was myself from all of activities that involved food or drinking. And what I mean by drinking, it could be pop, it could be beer, but usually when you're an adult, there's adult beverages around when you're around people and friends, and that was hard because it pigeonholes you into, this is where Stuart is and this is where everybody else is.
Yeah. That, and then people start to sort of, yeah. No, I know it gets hard when you're doing those things and you're making those sacrifices, and everyone else is sort of like, well, I'm over here drinking my 4 or 5 beers and you're drinking your water.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed the part where you started posing. I don't think a lot of people really understand that is sort of a weird sort of dance, because you're choreographing and you're doing these things and you're trying to show off, you know, the muscles that you've built and that you have. What pose did you feel the most ridiculous doing when you practiced?
It was the side pose, because when you pose on your side, you're pushing your thigh into your other leg.
Yeah.
So it squishes it so it looks thicker. I always thought that the guys were like, doing this, and their legs were apart, but they're like this.
Huh.
It is a weird, that to me I thought was weird. I'm like, really, Jeff? You have to squeeze your leg? Oh yeah. It pushes that hamstring out. So, yeah, it's funny. The whole part about posing on stage is, yes, it's choreographed. It's a dance. When you see the choreography part, you're not getting judged on that.
Yeah.
That's for the audience in the evening show.
Yeah.
The pre-judging is where all of your scores are done. But what's interesting is it's an illusion, because when you're on stage, a lot of people don't realize that you are black with tan on you. But on stage, you're washed out a little bit more.
Yeah.
If the public would go to a natural bodybuilding show and they see people walking around, they're like, what? How many years have you been tanning? your skin looks like leather, and the stuff that the tanning solution that you put on, it dries your skin up terribly, and you itch so bad. And then you've got to put all this oil on. So you're putting the oil on, and you're smoothing yourself out, and you feel ridiculous, right? And the worst part is that some strange guy that you don't even know says, "Hey man, can you put some oil on my back?" So there's guys that are doing this, and I was just like, okay, this is really surreal. And even when and Jeff Willett did it to me when he was backstage getting ready to do his final farewell, and he goes, "Dude, can you get some, maybe smooth my oil out of my back?" And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so wrong. So, but anyway, when you're on stage, the lights are all pointing down so that all the ridges are shadowing properly.
Right.
And it's an illusion. I mean, you look bigger on stage than you really are in real life. And that's the part about bodybuilding that I find intriguing.
I find it very intriguing also that you say an illusion and you were a magician, and now like you traveled around and did magic, and then you got on stage to do this, and it was still sort of in a vein of sort of, you know, illusionary magic.
Oh yeah, yeah. And my posing routine brought the house down, and that was because I have showbiz background, so I really got the audience going.
Good. That sounds like a lot of fun. Except the oiling thing. You say that, and I remember there's a picture, oddly enough, from my high school senior trip of my best friend, because like, you know, you can never get sunscreen on your back, and I'm a ginger, so like I don't tan. I burn and then go back to white, just pale white.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, best friend, can you put some lotion on my back? And it's just this picture someone snapped at the time of him, and I'm just like, and he's like, yeah. It's just that weird look of like, this is weird that but you know, so I'm watching the video again today, and I'm going through it, you know, for like a third time, finalizing some questions that I wanted to ask, and I'm listening to Jeff speak, and I'm like, okay. Similar things that like I've told clients or I've had coaches tell me. And my first thought was, all right, I'm going to ask him, did you ever think, Jeff, this sounds stupid. Like, how is this really, like, is this really how it's done? Like, and did you actually say that to him?
Yes, I did. In the video, in the documentary, I said, you know, this is stupid. I said it just like that. And I said, it's like, it's not a bodybuilding contest. It's a contest to see who can eat the least.
I mean, yeah, all right.
Without dying. And, you know, of course, there is the, you know, you have to build muscle to reveal all that. But I'll guarantee you, most people, if they were to get to that shredded point before they become emaciated and their body starts eating themselves from the inside out, you will see abs, you will see definition, you'll see vascularity, you'll see all that stuff. But yeah, it just seems like such a dumb sport. And I'm not saying it just from a layman's point of view,
right?
Just a dumb sport. However, for the person that's doing it and on stage, it's probably one of the most gratifying things I've ever done, because it's so hard to do. So few people can accomplish it. And when you do accomplish your goal and you look like that, all the people who were saying, oh, you look sick, you're blah, blah. I mean, there are so many people that thought I had AIDS or I was dying. Most of them thought I was dying of some horrible disease, because my face had gotten to the point where you could almost see the tendons in the cheek. You know, it was just really, really weird. And so that part of it, being on stage is gratifying, and getting an award is gratifying as well. But it really is a very stupid sport from, somebody looking from the outside in. It's like, I just don't get it. I don't get it. It's like, here's my best example is that here are these guys up on stage who are the strongest of the strong, apparently. But when these guys walk off stage, they're posing and they're going like this, and they walk off stage and they're walking off stage trying to stay all flexed while they're walking off, and they get off stage, they're like this. Oh my God. Oh God. And they're just exhausted.
Yeah.
Because they don't have any energy left.
I can only imagine how much energy it takes to, because I have a degree in theater, and I know what it's like to be on stage and have to give a performance, and you as a musician as well, like you're giving energy, and it's tiring, especially for something like comedy. And if you're doing something like magic and you're on stage and you're entertaining people is it will drain you. I mean, it will drain you more than like a hard day working in a field with your grandfather when you're 10. Like it can drain you. But I can only imagine what it's like when you're eating 1,400 calories a day and you're having to pose and flex your muscles and you're just too tired to do anything.
Yeah, yeah. And so you just think, oh, that guy, he looks like he's in great shape. It's like, yeah, but you can blow him over. Boom, and he's done. So yeah, that part I don't understand, but maybe someday I will. But for right now, it's like it's a mystery.
It is an interesting sport. I guess interesting that you label it a sport, because I mean, I don't know it. Yeah, I guess it is a sport. I guess you have to think about how you define the word sport. When I think sport, I think like basketball. Like there's something that you're doing athletic, and not that bodybuilding isn't athletic, but
there's a winner and a loser because they competed by running faster than the other person, scoring more points.
Yeah.
But here it's all it's subjective. It's maybe that judge over there doesn't like you, but favors one of the guys who's been in contests for the past 10 years, and they have a history of watching that person progress.
And they see the progression, yeah.
And they see, a guy like me for the first time, and they're like, yeah, he's pretty good, but John's been at it for a long time, and he looks fantastic compared to what he used to look like, 10 years ago. So all that plays in judges' heads.
Do they keep the same judges? They don't like cycle people out?
Well, I'm sure they cycle out, but if that judge saw that guy, I mean these guys go to these conventions, these contests all the time. It's even whether a judge or not. So they can see people that have kind of done the circuit of competitions. I'm sure of it. I mean, it happens if it happens in the world of magic, it's got to happen in the world of bodybuilding as well, because it's such a small universe.
I can see that. All right, so a couple of fun questions that I ask all my guests, and then we'll go back to talking about a little about the documentary, and then sort of where you're going in the future. Where would you go in a time machine?
Where would I go in a time machine? I would go definitely back in time. I would like to see dinosaurs. Really, I would like to see what the world was like before man and buildings, and if not, and if I couldn't get that as a possibility, definitely during the building of the Great Pyramid.
Okay.
Egypt would be my second choice, but probably dinosaurs.
I'm with you on the dinosaurs. I think like only one place I'd be like, I don't know if that's possible to pick one.
Yeah.
All right, you're in the finals for the International Air Guitar Championship. What song do you play to take home the crown?
Walk This Way.
All right. I like it. All right. Funny question I always love to ask, and you mentioned going to college and living living through college and doing all that, and we all have done it. And you, from so far, I mentioned you enjoy micro brews and kicking back. What's the most money you've ever drunkenly spent at McDonald's or your favorite fast food restaurant?
The most money I spent for myself?
Yep,
McDonald's?
for yourself, drunkenly at a fast food restaurant.
Oh, drunkenly. I've never gone to a fast food joint drunk. I never have. However, the after drunk, like morning after, I went to a International House of Pancakes.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think I ate just by myself about $22 worth of pancakes and bacon and sausage, and it was glorious.
Oh man, they have that is. I'll tell you that on the days that I remember from college, that bacon, egg, and cheese with the egg on top, their burger. Oh man, that was my drunken hangover like cure right there for college.
Okay,
yeah, I do love me some IHOP. All right, let me see. All right, last fun question before we go back to talking about your awesome documentary. If you could be any animal on a carousel, what animal would you be and why?
I would be a stallion.
I like it. Okay. So what in watching the progress and you did phase 1 and then you gained some weight back, with the stress of your haunted house and and your business, and then you really nailed it down in phase 2 and got on stage and did the contest. What was the biggest thing you learned through that process that influenced other areas in your life?
That a lot of change can happen through a well-executed plan. And if you follow the plan through attainable goals, you can do anything. And you apply that, especially, Jeff taught me a lot about the mental aspect of doing this type of a contest. You have to mentally connect to your destination. And we did that by making 3x5 index cards, and we placed them all around my house. That my goal was to win the top 5, at least the top 5. And we didn't want to say a body weight because you have no idea where you're going to land 6 months from now. I mean, that's just the thing. So we just had those all over the house, and eventually you get to a point where you're always connecting with that vision, and then when you get to the 3-month portion of the diet, the last 3 months you can just see farther. So every time you take a step, you're taking a step farther up the rung, so that by the time you get to the top of the hill, and you know that the next 3 months are going to go like that because you're already at the halfway point, you don't want to fall backward. So as long as you have the whole idea is to push yourself to get momentum going, because once you get momentum going, when you turn around and you look back at where you came from, you say to yourself, I've gone this far, I'm going to go the distance. And when your mind says that, every day's a lot easier, because you don't have you block out all influencers, you block out every type of food that is wrong for you, and you are focused on making just very simple decisions, because at that point it gets easy.
Yeah.
You go to the grocery store, what am I going to get? I'm going to get chicken and I'm going to get vegetables. That's it. It's pretty simple.
Did having the note cards, sort of around the house, have you done that, in now your job with Whirlpool, and do you still continue that? Will you do that in the sequel?
Yeah, all those tricks, most definitely. Um, there's no better way to do it I can think of, and especially uh, when you take the what of let's how do I say this, because I'm so goal oriented. It's ingrained in me now.
Yeah.
Because when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be goal oriented. But when you see a goal, you just instantly know that you have to start making steps toward that goal. You can't say, "Well, Monday I'm going to start. Tuesday I'm going to start. I don't know. I got to wait. I got to wait till after the holidays. It's just going to be too busy." It's like, no, you make baby steps, and then you just start convincing yourself that this is the direction that you want to go, and it's all about momentum. It's just creating momentum. That's it. That's pretty much the key. Is just get yourself to the next step.
Okay. So so besides the note cards, were there other ways that you helped create momentum that anyone listening could use on their own, sort of quest to getting in better health?
Definitely take unflattering photographs of yourself. That is a huge motivator. If you look at the new graphic we have, where I want to look like that guy, the sequel, fat and bloated again.
Yeah.
I took a very unflattering picture of myself, and I can't stress that enough. You just have to be brave. Some women are very closed off to that idea. Some men are closed off to that idea. There are just some people that just don't want to have their photograph taken, whether they're taking it themselves or not.
Yeah.
But they have to do it. Just forget about the idea that every time you take a picture, your soul gets trapped inside the camera, because that has been proven wrong. But when you look 3 months down the road, or even a month down the road, there's a colleague of mine at work who says that they've been at this, diet that they're on for 3 months, for a month. And I said, "Did you take a photograph of you at the very beginning?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, how do you know that you haven't made progress?" And he said, "I just know." I said, I'll put good money on it you have. If you have done everything that you're telling me that you did, then if you put the two pictures side by side, there is going to be weight loss somewhere. And what you have to do is you have to be regimental about that. And I take them once a week. So at the end of at this point, it's like every Monday, I'll take pictures. You just need to do front, side, and back. It kind of gives you the whole perspective, and then you line them up, and you can see where you're thinning out. And once you start seeing that, you feel proof.
Yeah.
And you go, "Oh, okay, it's working." Then you get that. Then that confidence level comes up, and then 2 months in, you start finding that your clothes are fitting a little looser, and then you look at the pictures again, and you're like, "Wow, this is really working." And it gets you excited, because your friends aren't going to see it. They're gonna say, "Well, I thought you were on a diet." It's like, I am on a diet, but my clothes are covering up the progress.
Yeah.
So that's something that it has to be a very personal journey, and you have to take personal accountability at home first to make sure that you have a measuring system in place, so that you can see for yourself what's happening in your most unflattering picture-taking method that you can, and just be regimental about it. Just take them every week, and you will see progress.
Have you started filming this sequel? Are you sort of in pre-production?
Yep, we're filming it now. The way it's going to work is, instead of releasing the documentary 6 months from now, we're going to do it as a subscription.
Okay.
And we wanted a pain point that was really, really minimal. So for $2.95 per month, you can stick with us throughout the progress, and I'll put up videos every week. And so you'll see a video every week of what I did, and I will make them entertaining. Will not be like paint drying. It's like, oh look, I'm lifting weights again.
With some AC/DC in the background as you're like doing lap pull downs.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, that's pretty. That gets pretty boring. Because I honestly think that the meat of and what's going to be difficult is that I mean I live alone, so there won't be occasionally there will be people manning the camera, but I want to show people home life because that's where the battle is fought and won and lost, and I'll show people me practicing for my next competition because I'm competing again. As a matter of fact, I just got ranked last summer in the top 4 competitors in the world now. So I'm on a trajectory here of making a great new magic act, and so you'll actually get a little insight there of my, you know, the world of magic, and you'll get insight of, you know, where I live and what it's like to be, you know, by the lake. What do I do by the lake? Do I exercise by the lake? Do I walk by the lake? And it'll be fun. It'll be very interesting. And then of course you'll see the heartaches and the challenges that I'll be talking about, because I chose to do it after I decided. Well, I didn't mentally make this decision, but it ended up that after I said yes, let's do this. And when I said let's do it, I didn't take into account that, oh my gosh, November and December and January are filled with holiday parties.
Yeah.
This is where everybody gains all of their weight. You've got Halloween coming up. We already know what the holidays are.
Yeah.
They're all there. And so you as a fitness expert know that this is where people gain all of their weight, and then they spend New Year's resolutions trying to take it all off, but they only take off some of it. So next year when they get in the holiday seasons, they put on a lot more and they take off a little bit more. So that's why, like, I think on average people gain 5 pounds every single year by doing that cycle. And so I want to show people what it's like to start a diet in the worst time possible in your life, and that is during the holiday season. How can you still enjoy yourself, or maybe you can't enjoy yourself as much, and get through that hump? Because honestly, it'll be 10 times harder, I think, and full of drama, for sure.
Which is good for people who are watching. I love that you said this, and I'm gonna have to attribute this to you from now on. But the battle, you know, the real battle is at home. The battle is won and lost at home. And when you said that, my brain went, that's common sense, but it just feels so genius, because you're right. We go to the gym and we can work out. We put the work in. But what do we do when we're not there? You know, we can make good choices at work and we can take our lunch, but what do we do when it's really stressful and we don't have time, you know, to make dinner for a family of 4? You know, or you have those holiday parties, you know, and I think that's a very, very, very wise thing to say, that it is won and lost at home. So what's going to be your biggest battle at home?
The first 3 months, it's definitely holiday parties. I perform my magic show at company holiday parties, and the first thing they do is say, well, hey, we got a 5-course meal. You're welcome to eat with us. And I'm like, I can't. I'm going to eat this broccoli in this bag.
Why don't we make this broccoli disappear?
Yeah. No, I think honestly that the hardest part is going to be getting through all that, because that's a time that I really enjoy, family and friends, and then the other part too that's tough is that I battle with winter depression.
Yeah, that's
not that I'm depressed, but it's so common.
Yeah. And by the way, I have spent a few months in Michigan during the winter in a small town called Alpena, which is in the middle of nowhere. Yep. And from October 31st, Halloween, until I left in mid-December at a theater in that small town. It was gray, and when it wasn't gray, it was snowing.
Yeah.
So I could totally, like, I understand what you mean.
Yeah, you need sunlight, and you do get a form of depression, and so I can't think of a worse time to actually do this, because when I did it the first time, I started it in February. Started the real hard diet in February,
right,
and it took us to July. So as winter was progressing, it was getting lighter and lighter outside, and so I felt better and better as I was going. But now I'm going into, hey, it's light outside, it's getting dark and dreary, and the end is going to be in March. It's just, ugh. And so I've got two strikes going against me right there. So those two things are going to be very difficult, I believe, to overcome.
I think those are good challenges, though, for you to sort of tackle, because a lot of people, you're right. Everyone sort of presents, oh, gym time in January, let's go and lose weight. You don't think about how do you prepare yourself for those holidays, and how do you, get through that if you are trying to maintain a healthy body weight and you don't want to add weight, or you are trying to lose weight. How do you navigate that? I think that's a really interesting way to tackle it in the documentary, and ballsy to do it at this time, instead of being, because you could have been like, let's just wait till after the new year.
Yeah.
So are you going to put it all into one film, or is it just going to be webisodes? Are you?
Yeah, good question. It's going to be all put together in a film at the end. So if you join for the $2.95 a month, at the end of it, we are going to put together a digital copy that will be available to you to download, put on your computer, and hopefully don't put it up on YouTube. Share it. But the idea is that everybody coming into this project with us, it's kind of like you're helping fund the project,
right? So
that and it's going to be so inexpensive, that, because honestly, one of the things that we want to do is, we don't want to do this. We can't do it for free, but we also don't want to do it so that it's a barrier to people, so that people who honestly want to do this, my gosh, I don't even know how much $2.95 a month comes out to per day, but it's got to be
right around 10 cents.
Yeah, that's good math. Math in public. So for 10 cents a day, you can get amazing information from one of the top body transformers. I would say probably in the world would be Jeff Willett. And the other thing that we're going to do too at the end of the documentary, at the end of the 6 months, you get the digital copy, but you'll also get the original as well, because the pirated one that went out line is not the action. Because every time I see it, it's like, oh, that's such a bad edit, and that person is no longer in that video. It's like, it's the wrong one, and there's a much better edit out there. So people have been enjoying the first draft of the documentary, but the real meaty documentary is still luckily in our grasp. So you get that one as well.
Cool. And I wanted to touch on this. We got a few more minutes here. I try to keep it around an hour, but I'm enjoying the conversation. But I wanted to ask, because we chatted a little bit about it before we got on the call. You mentioned that the documentary may have made some people angry
yes.
in the world of bodybuilding. Did you get emails? Did you get, I hope you didn't get phone calls. I hope Jeff didn't get phone calls, since he's in that world as well. But what were some of the reactions that you got, on that side, and as well on the positive side?
Yeah, vicious comments on YouTube. One for me is that I was a crybaby, and it's like, take it like a man, because it's not that hard. Why on earth did you cry? It's like, you didn't live it. my experience is completely different from everybody else's. But to answer the reason why I did cry is that when you get to that kind of a minimal body fat, a lot of things are happening. Your hormones actually change in your body. When women get below 15% body fat, their periods stop. Mm-hmm. So when men get to below 15% body fat, or I don't even know what the percentage is, you are emotional. I mean, you're out of whack, and that's where people get angry and all that. So anyway, so I got that, and I got people saying, you dropped weight too fast, and I'm like, no, I didn't drop weight too fast. It was very gradual. Then people thought that I was on steroids, and I'm like, really? I weighed 154 pounds. Yeah, I'm on steroids. But Jeff really had to take a lot on the chin because it showed a light on him with more people than probably had seen him through his career. He was accused of, oh yeah, there's no way that guy is natural. There's no way that guy is natural. Blah 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 blah. And some people were just short of threatening the guy's life. And I'm like, nah, that is just he was very, very adult about it. He wouldn't answer some of those people, but some of the people did get under his skin a little bit, and they got under my skin a little bit. But then you realize it's like, there are just going to be people out there that can't understand what it's like to go through hard work.
Yeah.
There's Jeff's hard work is evident in his body, and my hard work was evident in the results at the end of our journey of the documentary. So that was the angry part of just, I mean, if you go online and if you look up, I want to look like that guy, the trailer,
yeah,
the comments are horrible.
Yeah,
absolutely horrible. Not all of them. Some fans jump in, and they're like rescuing me, and one of my favorite lines was, sometimes it's just better to not say anything at all.
What was the positive? Like, you mentioned you've had a growing fan base, and they're excited for the sequel. What were some of the positive reactions that you got out of it that maybe you didn't expect, or that sort of surprised you?
The number of, some people found my phone number, and I would get texts saying, I just saw your documentary. It was the most inspiring documentary I'd ever seen on bodybuilding. Yeah. I would get texts from people, not texts, but emails from the website, people saying, thank goodness somebody is actually telling the truth. And then I would have somebody that would say, I've struggled for so long, and now I understand what a realistic body image is. Rather than trying to look like that 20-year-old that's in the ad, I can kind of gauge I need to be maybe in this area. Yeah. We were promoted by marketing material over and over and over again that you have to have ripped abs in order to have the girlfriend. It's like, no. Ripped abs are very difficult. Very, very difficult to get. Some people are capable of getting them and keeping them year-round. They're like the 1% or 1 or 2% people that have that ability, naturally.
Yeah.
But however, going back to the answer to your question, yeah, it's just the sheer number of people that were not just from America, but I mean every corner of the planet. I mean from Korea, from Iraq, and Israel, and we have a huge following in Australia. And there was a guy in Great Britain who said, "Dude, I've created an ism in the gym, and people would just go, hey, I want to look like that guy," and that's now a phrase in this particular gym. Yeah, it's been a real mystery how it all got so big, and um, I'm just very and I'm proud. The most thing I'm proud of is that it's affected a lot of people in a positive way. I mean, more people than all the negative people, because the only people who are negative are the ones who just need to be the squeaky wheel.
Yeah.
But the people who are really affected by it are the quieter ones, and there's so I would say tens of thousands of people have responded positively about it, saying it really changed their life.
Good. That's good. And I hope I'm excited to see, where you progress now and with the sequel and, and the third part of the trilogy, how to maintain it. I think that will be a very important, piece of the puzzle for a lot of people, who were inspired and got in better shape or maybe got on stage and did a bodybuilding show to see it for themselves.
Yeah.
I have to be honest, there was a part of me that was like, I want to do this. I want to do this. And then I saw your documentary and I saw that scene where, where you mentioned, that you cried and, how your hormones are sort of all over the place. And I was like, I don't know about that. And I don't know about eating 1,500 calories a day. Yeah. It's hard when my wife loves cheese because I'm like, I can't have cheese.
It's a hard decision to make and be committed to. Especially if you're somebody who doesn't like the word failure or quit, because once you start it, you have to go through with it, and it's tough, but it's not impossible. There are some. That's some of the other things is that people wouldn't watch the whole thing. They would watch the trailer and they'd say things like, dude, it's possible, and I'm like, yes, because I did it. We just watched the documentary.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is possible. That's the whole point of the documentary. It is possible to look like the guy in the fitness ads, but it's tough.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as what they say. I've seen ads, and you've seen them. 6 weeks, rock hard abs. It's like, well, 6-pack in 6 weeks, really? I want that. But it's not. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, there are some tricks to those before and afters for those things as well. It's called eat a high carbohydrate meal after you've had the after photo taken, and then that becomes your before photo. Yeah, there's some tricks.
Oh yeah.
But I love what you said there, and I think it kind of ties into the end of the film when you say you can achieve great things. All you have to do is execute.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what I'm hoping with the sequel is that, you show everyone, hey, I'm back to where I was, maybe a little worse, but I'm going to get down. And then I want to work on showing you how to maintain a healthy lifestyle, with being busy and having jobs and holiday parties and cookouts and all of that. But that phrase, you can achieve great things, all you have to do is execute. How do you make that sexy enough to market? Because that is the thing. All those ads you mentioned, they show the skinny guy and they say this or that, and you think, oh, but I'm going to get this. You don't think about the hard work. So how do you market the sort of hard work that it takes? Like, is there a way to do that?
Sure. The Marines do it all the time in their TV commercials. Are you tough enough? Are you man enough to be a Marine, to be one of us? You just have to challenge people. And there are some people that are like, oh yeah, nobody's better and tougher than me. So yeah, I think there's that aspect. But for us, for what we're looking at is I kind of think of this as a bit of an underground grassroots movement. Not that I want to be part of a big movement. I'm just saying that just let it carry on the way I'm living it. It's that we are all afraid of pain and hard work. That's it. It just gets down to that. And we don't like pain. We don't like discomfort. And that's what keeps people in their place. And I want to address that and just say, look, you can do it. It's just going to take a lot of hard work. And something has popped in my head that I want to just address and just put this in your brain, so when we're done talking here, you can test this out for yourself. Look around you, and everybody who's listening, look around you and see all of the people who are probably 50 or younger in motorized scooters in the grocery store. And then if that doesn't bother you, take a look at all the people in your grocery store that are hobbling, limping. Those people are probably, I'd say 99% sure those are your diabetics. Or the people that are really young that aren't limping and having issues with their nerves in their feet or their legs, that's what they have to look forward to. And it's everywhere. So that's one of the things that's been shocking me in the past 2 years. It's just how many people that are on those darn scooters, and how many people I see just limping for no reason. And the area that I work, there's probably about 800 people that work in the building, and so many of them are limping. And inside our bathrooms are sharps containers for people who have diabetes, and they're full all the time. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is all preventable, and we can, and if we can just get the message out that it's, you don't have to look like that person in the ad. That's not ideal. That's not, it's not that you can't look like that. It's just that is such a crock that we need to get past that and just say, look, active lifestyle, good, healthy eating, and keep that up year round, and we can defeat this this type 2 diabetes epidemic, especially in the young kids, because I think of young kids who have that to look forward to. It's so preventable. Yeah. We have to do something about it, and hopefully this documentary can be part of that.
Yeah, I love that you said, you don't have to look like. That's not what you have to look like. My wife and I just had a conversation about that sort of thing with women yesterday, and I personally, I put a picture of myself up, doing an experiment, but I don't like putting pictures of myself shirtless up online, because I don't want people to think that, oh, well, that's what he's trying to promote. You don't have to look like, this is me, this is my personal goals, these are what I'm going for. And I think everyone needs to realize that you can have your own personal goals. That's the goals you should go after. And if you want to look like that guy in those ads, then watch this documentary and realize how hard it's going to be. But you don't, that doesn't mean you're healthy. It doesn't mean you're any better. It's not going to get you laid any quicker. It's just, you can have a healthy body fat percentage and avoid these diseases, or at least prevent them. There are genetic proportions to that as well, but you can still prevent those things. It's going to take hard work. It's going to take some sacrifice, and it's hard to sell that to a lot of people. It's easier to sell the flashy and buy this, it'll turn you into this.
Right.
But last question I always ask all my guests, and I steal this from Tim Ferriss in his podcast, and I enjoy it. If you could have dinner with anyone from history, who would it be?
Ooh, Marilyn Monroe.
It's the first time a man has said Marilyn Monroe, and I'm impressed, sir. All right.
I mean, wouldn't that be awesome?
That it would. I agree. It'd be fantastic. I think she was a very interesting woman at that time. Men. I think she knew how to play the game, and she knew what to do. But she was talented, and the business that she grew. She was amazing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Stuart, I've had a great time. If people want to know more about you, where can they find the sequel and then the third episode to the trilogy, and on social? Where can people find you online?
Okay, it's going to be at jeffwillett.com, and that's Jeff WILLET.com, and it's we go live October 18th, and Jeff Willett has a Facebook page. I have a Facebook page. We'll announce it through there. We'll announce it through YouTube and Twitter. So if you look up Jeff Willett, you connect with him through Twitter, you're definitely going to find out how this is all going to start rolling out.
Awesome. Well, guys, you can get all the links to this as well over at the website, sidequestfitness.com/podcast. And I'll get all of those links there to Jeff's website. And I won't link to the YouTube since it's a bad cut. But I'll link to all of Stuart's stuff as well. And hey, for $3, you can watch him on his journey. It's a great. I think it's gonna be a great journey to watch. I'm gonna watch it myself. I loved the documentary when I watched the bad cut on YouTube. But I'm interested to see where you go, and I'm really interested to see how you kind of touch on getting to your goal, and then how do you maintain that? Because I think that is the biggest thing, that if we can if you can teach people, you can get here. It takes hard work. Now, how do you maintain it and still live a life where you're not eating chicken, broccoli, and rice?
Right. Yeah.
So I think that will be interesting. But you can get all those links there as well. So, Stuart, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I wish you good luck as you go through the holidays on your new endeavor. And I look forward to the new episodes each week.
Oh, thanks for having me. This was awesome.